Vayichan sham Yisrael eged ha'ar Lahadu kulanu ke'echad.
I think it's remarkable that this initiative and these shiurim for this time of year should be coming about through Yeshivat Hakotel. I sent many of my university students to learn in Yeshivat Hakotel over my years of looking after 14 universities in the northwest of England. And I remember visiting one of my very favourite students, Johnny Feinmesser, and we sat together and learned in the yeshiva. And it's obviously a tremendous thing. I mean, to be able to be a Talmud of Yeshivat Hakotel, to be able to daily look at the council or the kotel and the aliyah, the simple thing, wow, we're here and look, it's ours again. And I think that perhaps in those fabulous moments and fabulous vistas that confront the Bokrim from Yeshiva Hakotel, you might forget that it is a churban. It's a churban of the Beis HaMikdash. It's the last residue. We are so very often excited about the fact that we can go and daven at the council. We might forget the fact that the council is a testimony to the fact that there is no Beis HaMikdash there, that we have consistently failed to get it rebuilt. And you all know what the Gemara says in the Yerushalmi. If you live in a generation that didn't see the Beis HaMikdash rebuilt, you're behaving precisely and exactly as the generation that got it destroyed in the first place. And that's a rather sad thought, that we celebrate the wall, the one wall, not the other walls, not the construction that should be on top of it, a third Beis HaMikdash, because we repeatedly and consistently fail to put right what we did wrong back then when we got it destroyed in the first place. And I was in Jerusalem, I think this is now about 8 years ago. There is an annual gathering of women in Binyani Ha'omah, the concert hall in Jerusalem, who gather there every year. I can't remember the numbers, but they're absolutely enormous. I think, if I remember rightly, for the shiurim that are given, or the rabbis are invited to give during the 9 days, as we approach the tragic commemoration of the destruction of the temple, to try and work on Shmiras HaLashon, to try and work in Lashon Hara, which the Chovos HaLevavos famously says was the catalyst to the whole thing. In his introduction in Sefer Chovos HaLevavos, I'll read this to you. Achal b'sayf yimei Bayasheni, at the end of Bayasheni, Garva Sinas Chinam and Lashon Hara. Sinas Chinam and Lashon Hara multiplied in Klal Yisrael, Jews confronting Jews, afflicted by these two dual diseases. Bevanaseno Harabim, and our many, many failings, about Avor Zeh Nechrav bias, and that's why we lost the bias. But Galin Miartzeno Kadisa B'Yom, the Gemara says in Yuma Tes on the base. Bagamsha Gemara Nikodesh Sinas Chinam, and the Gemara says Sinas Chinam, that's not to ignore, says the Chovos HaLevavos. Kavanahu al Lashon Hara, should be talking about Lashon Hara. So it seems to be something that is intractable, something that we've been doing and carry on doing. And when I spoke to the 5,000 Jewish ladies in Yerushalayim from that stage, there were two other Rabbanim as well. When I spoke there, I wanted to make a suggestion. It was a suggestion which I hid behind other Gedolim who said it as well, but it strikes me as maybe that the reason that we've not been able to cure the disease of Lashon Hara over these many, many centuries, millennia, is simply because we're making an enormous mistake. We're trying to cure the symptom of the disease, not the disease. Lashon Hara is not a problem. It's a symptom of a problem. It's an inevitability that flows from a problem, and the problem is Sinas Chinam. If we were working on that, then maybe the whole problem would not be there in the first place. So let me suggest that Jews, failing in being Am Echad, failing in the message of Vayichan Sham, Neged Ahar, we stood there under the mountain, each one, Kalev Echad, because each one is part of the whole, then maybe in failing in that, then Lashon Hara becomes an inevitability. Cure the source of the disease, and the symptom goes away as well. There is a fabulous, fabulous sefer. They've now renamed it Das Shlomo. It used to be called Tomorrow Sinas Chinam of Rav Shlomo Wolbe Tzaddik Livracha. And Rav Shlomo Wolbe says in the first mimer, and I think I'll read this to you because I find this absolutely astonishing. He says, "Abriya kula v'ochedes u'medubekes." The entire world is a perfectly designed machine, a united machine with each part working. Because there was one father for everybody in the world, for every part of the world, one designer, one manufacturer. The Kollel Ivraim, Kruvim Zelazah, in each part of the world, we are all Kruvim. We all fit. We're all part, each one to the other. Mishpacha Achas Gedada, one great family. Lana B'nei Adam, we human beings, Kriva El Adam, we have a connection to that which is inanimate, like rocks or earth. Shari Ofar Nachta, because we were made from the earth. Kriva El Tzmeach, we've got a connection to that which grows in the ground. We eat the stuff, and not only that, we also grow. Our hair grows, fingernails grow, etc. And then he says, Magam Bona Poil Kolat Semicha. Kriva El Balichaim, and our connection to animals is a much more profound and much more noticeable connection. If you've known, or maybe you're somebody in your family or yourself, you own a dog. When the dog sees you coming home, it runs down the driveway or it runs towards you, and it wears, as the English phrase goes, its heart in its sleeve. Its tongue's hanging out, and it's shaking its head, and its tail's going like crazy. It's jumping up. It's so excited to see you. Kilev, say Chazal. It's got its heart in its sleeve. And we love animals, and animals love us. But let us so that connection is much more apparent than the previous two. And also, obviously, a connection between human beings. But in the ancient world, he says that anybody who was a foreigner, anybody who was different, think of Sodom, or indeed think of the ancient Greek city-states, to be a Spartan, even though they looked the same, or from the same racial pool, spoke the same languages, but to be a Spartan instead of an Athenian, and so on and so forth, that could easily get you killed just by being different. Then, in the ancient world, just to be different, that was enough. They hated the foreigner. Sona Ezager, who came from a different country. But they would often give them the death penalty for being foreign. Because they didn't realize that there's one Father for all of us, that we've all got one designer. That's what the Torah says. But the truth of the matter is that Klal Yisrael realizes from the Torah that there is no such thing truly as somebody who's strange and alien. We're all children of one Hashem, one Father who designed and made us all. We're really only one family. Let me read on a little bit. This idea of us being interconnected is very clear. The Gemara in Menachos says, Yovo Yedid ben Yedid. Along came a Yedid, a beloved person, the son of a beloved person, Vayivna Yedid, and he built a beloved place, Yedid, for for somebody beloved, in the place of a Yedid, of a beloved person, and that would atone for things they did wrong. What is this whole collection of people who were beloved? Yedid. He said, Yov Yedid Zeh Shlomo HaMelech, the beloved person, Shlomo HaMelech. Along he came and he brings a posuk, Shnema V'Yishlach B'Yad, Noisen Anob V'Yakar Shmo Yedid, a posuk that proves that Shlomo was referred to as a Yedid. Ben Yedid Zeh Avram. He was the son of a Yedid, a beloved person. That's Avram Avinu. And another posuk refers to Avram as somebody beloved of God. But even a Yedid, and he built a beloved place, and that's the Beis HaMikdash. And another posuk refers to the Beis HaMikdash as being a beloved place. Yedid, for a beloved person, or for a beloved Zeh Kadosh Baruch Hu, because the Shem is called the Yedid. Bechel Kol Shul Yedid, in the place, a beloved place, that's the place of Binyamin, and in order to bring Kapora for all of us. And then he says the following, that we're always going to be forgiven through that. He says how astonishing it is, therefore, that the basic nature of the Jewish people is connection, affection, being beloved one of the other. And yet, how could it possibly be the case that if that is our basic position, it has become so twisted and so corrupt and so perverted? Because as I see, if that is indeed the whole purpose of the world, that we're really all one, then how could it be? Ma gam am Yisrael. Look at Klal Yisrael. Ahava b'kriva yedidas. That's our basic nature. We are one people. V'yesh l'zfala al metzias erchicha v'achzorias beinenu shazuhi hefach miskav labriya. How can there be such contempt, such anger, such hatred between Jews who were created to be one people in one place? How is such a thing conceivable? That we've ended up the opposite, the antithesis of what we were meant to be. Because even Ezra says, the word achzor, cruelty, perusho kezor, kezor, aleph, kov, zayin, resh. I see you as being zor, as being strange, as being different to me, as being alien to me. If I can see you as being different to me and alien to me and not part of me, then I can come to hate you. But a nation that was, from the very beginning, realizes that Av, Echod, L'Kolonu, that really we're all one family. How did we lose that? How did we lose the Beis HaMikdash? Why does Yeshivas Hakotel look over one wall, not the other three, and without a third Beis HaMikdash built on it? How do we still not get this? Because that's the root. Lashon Hara comes easy and naturally. In fact, it is a natural progression, an extension of Jews hating Jews. But you only hate Jews if you don't see them as being the same as you. You know, there are some people that it's impossible to speak Lashon Hara about. But before I tell you who that group of people is, you never speak Lashon Hara about them, let me tell you something else. This idea that Rav Shlomo Wolbe brings from the Ibn Ezra, that you can only feel hatred to somebody if you see them as not being you. There was somebody called Franz Stangl, Yimach Shemoy. I hope you don't know who he was. Franz Stangl was the commandant of Treblinka. Treblinka was a death camp. Auschwitz was also a death camp, but it was a death camp which also had manufacturing there. There was an armaments factory in Auschwitz. They produced various things. And so Jews were submitted to slave labor there, apart from the ones that were going to be killed straight away. But Treblinka was just a death camp. And once when I was visiting my students at Hilo House in Liverpool, in England, I found in their little library there a book, and it was about human cruelty. It was written by a famous psychologist, whose name I've now forgotten, so maybe he wasn't that famous. And I read the book, and he got to this. He's writing for a non-Jewish audience, and this was 20 years ago. It's moved on from the Holocaust. Non-Jewish memories are remarkably short when it comes to Jewish suffering. And he's having to explain what the Holocaust was. You see, Franz Stangl escaped, but the Americans captured him and interrogated him. And in the course of the interrogation, his interrogator said, look, these people were going to be killed anyway, but they were subjected to backbreaking work. They were forced to do terrible things. They were reduced to looking like terrible things. The latrines were insufficient in number. Permission to use them was routinely denied. People became covered in their own urine and their own excrement. They were starved. They looked like human skeletons. They were made to do backbreaking work. And they stank and looked revolting. And the interrogator said to Franz Stangl, why? As they were going to be killed anyway, then why submit them to this regime? And he answered something which is astonishing. He said, the answer? In order to condition those who had to carry out the policy, to make it possible for them to do what they had to do. In order to condition those who had to carry out the policy, that's the final solution to the Jewish problem. In other words, the Holocaust. To make it possible for them to do what they had to do. We're talking about one of the most evil human beings in human history. Franz Stangl, a Nazi. A Nazi was in charge of that death camp. And even he is explaining that for a Nazi to be able to kill other human beings, he has to see them as not being human. They had to reduce the Jews to a non-human state, stinking and horrible in appearance. And then you can kill somebody who's not like you. Kazor. Achzorius, I see you as not being me. The antidote to this is naturally when I do see you as being me. And that's the category of people that you can't possibly and won't ever speak Lashon Hara about. People you see as you, your family. I remember when I was a young man, I'd left Kollel, I left Gateshead Yeshiva after 7 years. I went to Kollel in a place called Liverpool, and when my full-time learning career was coming to an end, I started coming to Manchester, where I was working for Semicha, so I was doing Kibbutz Chokim and teaching yeshivas and teaching the Beis Yaakov school and a whole load of things all together. And at that time, when I was busy coming through to teach in Manchester, it was my first interaction with all sorts of Jewish students, and that's when I realized there were all sorts of perceptions that people had about other Jews as being essentially very different. But the truth of the matter is that we're not very different, particularly if the closer we feel ourselves to somebody else, we're not different at all. Well, I mean, I wasn't teaching in university and having people, Jewish people, looking at me very strangely because I wore one of these, and I'd learned in Gateshead Yeshiva. Horrific. I was teaching in this base Yaakov school. Now, I'd been to university and teacher training college, so I knew all about teaching. And I was of the school of thought that it's important to tell the truth when it comes to telling parents about their children. At the end of the year, they had their end of year exams. And then after the end of year exams, you send a week later, you send the report cards. There's an art form to writing report cards. You write in code. You do not tell the parents directly anything critical about their children. The other teachers tried to explain to me why this was so important, but I, having been to teacher training college, was absolutely convinced that you should be honest with the parents. And I actually, in my youthful naivety and stupidity, believed that they would be grateful to me for this. Of course, there's a code, so, could have tried harder this year, says the teacher in the comments box, really means didn't do any work the entire year. But it's not direct, so the parents are able to intuit that that might be the message. Sometimes misbehaves in class, always misbehaves in class. One gets the idea. And I wrote down the truth. And the week later, it's the evening, usually in the school gymnasium, when the teachers sit at their little desks and all the parents come and sit down and ask how their child is doing. And I was so pleased that almost every set of parents wanted to see me more than any of the other teachers. I was quite proud of my obvious great success in my first year at school. But in actual fact, every single one of the parents wanted to absolutely attack me for saying unpleasant things about their children. And I couldn't believe this. Didn't they want me to tell them the truth? Of course, that was until my own children started coming back from school with report cards. And if anybody said anything in any way slightly critical about one of my fabulously perfect children, it was clearly because there was something mentally wrong with that teacher, or they were anti-Semitic. But it couldn't possibly be that one of my sons or daughters was in any way flawed in any way. You see, because I love my children. And when we love our children, and it's so easy to see them as us, because they are us. The closer they are to you, the less you're likely to want to hear Lashon Hara about them, as all those parents informed me and educated me that night when they told me how awful I was for even suggesting that their daughters had a problem or two. The more you come to love somebody, the more you're close to them, the more you love them. You can only be cruel to somebody when you see them as not being you, not being a part of you. The problem that leads to Lashon Hara, which the Chovos HaLevavos said led to the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash, the reason that you look out now from Yeshivat Hakotel and you see just one wall is because not we speak Lashon Hara, because of the problem that leads us to speak Lashon Hara. We've forgotten who we are, that there was a place that was built by Yedid, Shalom HaMelech, for Yedidim, that's Klal Yisrael, for Hashem, that we're all together, that we realize that there's one Father for all of us. So if it's the case that we really want to take this seriously, and we really want to do something about it, I would suggest that what we should really be doing at this particular moment in time is learning the books and learning the Torah that emphasizes the fact that each Jew, Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh Zeh, each Jew is connected and a connector between every other single Jew. And there are so many wonderful books that just remind us of that obvious truth, that we're all family, that truly we are all close. Tomorrow Devorah, one of my favorite books, Tomorrow Devorah in the first Kollel, he's talking about, of course, the idea is Tomorrow Devorah is an exploration of the Yud Gimel Midas, the character traits of Hashem, 13 in all, and how our job is to copy them, to walk, as it were, in his path. The halachta b'drachav, says the Pasuk. Or in the Shira, the Oz Yoshir, Zekeli Va'anvehu. This is my God. Va'anvehu ani v'hu. I and he. What he does, how he behaves, I will behave too. And in the fourth Midah, the fourth character trait of Hashem, when the Ramosha Cordovero, the author of Talmud Devorah, discusses this, he says the following thing: it's appropriate for you to rejoice and be happy that somebody else is successful in business or whatever it is, or he's learning or whatever. And don't be jealous because he's got any success that comes from Hashem in the first place. So why to be jealous of him is to challenge Hashem's judgment. That doesn't work either. But it's the next words here I think are actually incredible. And somebody else's success should be as precious and as much a cause for celebration as your own success. Why? Shahari, here's the Hebrew, Shari hu mamish. Shahari hu mamish. Because he is you. And in the same way, there's an absolutely wonderful stage in your life when children come along, and if you've been lucky and been able to be successful at what you do as a Jew, sometimes people will say to your children, "Oh, are you?" And this may sound terribly modest, but often people say to my kids, "Are you Rabbi YY Rubinstein's son or daughter?" It gives you a nice feeling as a father, but it's a much nicer feeling, and that is when people say to you, "Are you the father of the child?" When your child has superseded you and become greater than you. And at that point, all you do is swell with pride because his success is your success. It's your son. If they tell you your son and your daughter has done remarkable things, well, you're their father, then your greatness is now because of them as opposed to the other way around. And that's a fabulous feeling. And you don't feel jealous and you don't feel angry. You're not going to speak Lashon Hara. Quite the opposite. It's a joy. It's something to rejoice in. Ki hu mamish, because he is you. We feel that naturally when it comes to our own children. But all of Klal Yisrael is our own children. We're all brothers and sisters. There's a little bit of me in you and a little bit of you in me. Whether you're Sephardi, whether you're Ashkenazi, whether you're modern Orthodox, we're all one Father for all of us. And that's what we've forgotten. So I think what we should be doing is learning Talmud Devorah, the first period, which deals with that. Or perhaps, how about Shari Kedusha? Let's keep this in Smas. Rav Chaim Vital. Or all the Sforim that tries to get it through to us that really we're one. And when we forget that we stood at Har Sinai, and Rashi says that was the time, the unique time, Vayichan sham ki ish echad b'lev echad. We got it then. We got the fact that every single Jew counted. The Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva, they forgot that. And the Shalom Nogo Kovod Zelazeh, says the Gemara, they died because they didn't give each other Kovod. Kovod means Kovod of Torah. They didn't value each other's Torah. And maybe you are the greatest Talmud Chacham in the world. But you're not, and you don't have every insight. Somebody who may be much smaller than you still needs your insight, which is why the Vilna Gaon famously asked the Dubna Maggid to come and give him Musar. Well, he's the Vilna Gaon. Why did he give him? Because you can't give yourself Musar. You need somebody else to look at you. And he's not as great. So, you need another set of eyes. We all need other sets of eyes. And how could it be that we became achzor, that we became cruel towards each other? Gosh, I remember somebody I knew in England, and he'd been in the British Army during the Second World War, and he's one of the Jews who got into the concentration camps just a couple of months after they were liberated. And he told me he was in Dachau, and when the survivors found out he was Jewish, British soldier who's Jewish. Where did your family come from? And he came from wherever it's Poland, wherever it was, Galiciana. Galiciana, come on! They were Galicianers, and they were Poles. Keep away from those Jews. Keep away from those Jews. Gosh, can you imagine? Holocaust survivors, concentration camp survivors, still haven't got the message. It's been 2,000 years of us still not getting the message. So my contention is that Lashon Hara is a condition of a problem. Solve the problem, we solve the problem of Lashon Hara. Solve the problem of Lashon Hara. Work on the fact, learn from the books that help us to realize that we're all one people, that we're all family. We won't want to speak Lashon Hara. We don't speak Lashon Hara, and we work on Sinas Chinam so that it disappears. We respect each other's Torahs. And very soon, when people look out from Yeshivat Hakotel, they won't see one wall, they'll see 4 walls. And they'll see other walls on top of it. And the base of Mikdash, a third base of Mikdash, one that will never be destroyed. The Mehira, the Yemena, Amen.